Hey, hello everybody. I'm going to start the broadcast now. And first of all, I probably just need to make sure that everybody can hear me and Lucy okay. Lucy, do you just want to say hello?
Hi, everyone.
Brilliant. Okay. Julia, you're there already? Fantastic. Can you let me know if you can hear me okay? Oh, Robin can hear us. Well, that's brilliant. Hi, Robin. Davide, brilliant. Excellent. Great. Hello. Lovely. All right, we'll see a few people have joined us already. That's fantastic. Hi, Glenn. All right. So, well, you found the chat button on the right-hand side, which is really good. Just the same as we do each time we do these events. If you've got any questions, hi, Donald. I'll be keeping an eye on the questions today. And actually, Lucy's going to be doing most of the talking. So if you've got any questions, either put them in the chat, just like normal, or if you scroll down, then we've got the question section, which Sandy has found down there in the open questions. I'll keep an eye on those and just make sure that we cover them either during the event or in the kind of question section at the end, if that sounds okay. I guess we could probably just get started. Is that okay with you, Lucy? All right. Well, then welcome everybody to the meetup. It's probably going to be our last one for the summer. I think we might take a break for a month or so, but these are our regular events. And what we usually try to do is just get together, share a bit of knowledge, a bit of wisdom, and invite special guest speakers from across the industry to come and give some information about what's happening from their aspect and their area. So absolutely delighted to have Lucy come and join us today from Transparent. For those of you who haven't heard of Transparent before, Lucy will give more details, but they're a marketing intelligence provider. And like us, they work exclusively for holiday rentals or vacation rentals. So we're really happy to have Lucy come along today. I think it's particularly poignant now because, the industry is just opening up. I know in some areas of the UK it's already open, some areas will be following very shortly. But we can see, as Robin pointed out in one of the events a couple of weeks ago, we can see bookings coming in already. So Lucy's going to really kind of dive down into that booking data and give us an idea of what's actually happening in the industry right now. And that's going to be brilliant for making plans for what's happening in 2020 and maybe even 2021 as well. First of all, thank you very much, Lucy, for coming along. Plan for today, Lucy's going to go through her particular bit of data. We'll go through some questions at the end, and we'll also talk about any future events that we've got planned too. Okay, so if everyone's okay with that, then Lucy, you okay to get started?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelly, for the lovely introduction, and to Robin and, of course, all of Bookster and everyone here as well for joining. As Kelly said, I'm here today. I work for Transparent, market intelligence provider, and primarily we work with property management companies, specifically focusing on short-term rental or vacation rental properties. So for today, I'm going to be sharing with you, sorry, I'll just put 6 charts to explain the UK recovery and how market intelligence can help you to assist that recovery. And now, of course, this is outlining primarily the impact of the coronavirus. So again, focus on the UK, but also we will touch on UK in Europe as well and how we're doing compared to the rest of Europe. So just to give you a really quick introduction to Transparent, for those of you who we haven't met yet, we're a leading market intelligence provider. We track around 34 million listings worldwide, and we're tracking those across 4 of the major OTAs. You can see here Booking.com, Airbnb, VRBO, and TripAdvisor. So we analyze the data globally, not just in the UK, to help property managers understand supply, demand trends, and also rates, along with other insights to empower strategic decisions. So with this in mind and with the current crisis at hand, we've been thinking about how our wealth of information can help property management companies during the crisis. So we've collected all of the data insights around occupancy, demand, pricing, supply, and even cancellations, and uploaded them onto our website. So you can track these in your own market. And by market, I mean your region or your city of operation. And that's for free. So at the end, I will definitely share that with you. I'll share the link and you can go ahead and look there for free for yourselves. So for today, we're going to be looking at the following 6 charts. So we've aggregated reservations made in 2020 up to the first week of July, which was, of course, last week. So the week ending July the 5th. And for that same time period in 2019, so of last year. So we've analysed the numbers, and here, starting with graph 1, we're going to look at total 2020 reservations to get a better idea of the overall impact of the coronavirus so far. The second chart will then show the weekly differences, so highlighting the progression and inflection point. And the third chart will start to consider the recovery by looking at the change since the inflection point. And the following 2 charts will illustrate where the UK is now. So firstly, in the broader context of Europe, and then secondly, by focusing on region by region within the UK. And the last chart, chart 6, is showing top UK short-term rental guest nationalities through 2020. So again, we've looked from week 1 to the start of this year, and that is until week 24, so around the middle of June. So we are recording this session. And as Kelly said, please, if you do have a question, feel free to pop it in the chat or below. Or if I can't see it or I miss it, I'll gladly address those at the end. Perfect. So just starting here with chart 1, I just wanted to highlight that these charts are actually interactive. So when we share with you the presentation, you will be able to hover over each region or any region of your choice and see the exact data for that region. But for today, for the purpose of the webinar, we uploaded as a PDF. So I will be sure to highlight those data points. But please, if you are interested, let me know at the end and I can gladly send that data for your market. So here, looking at the percentage difference between reservations made year to date in 2020 versus 2019. And that's just, as you can see, within the UK. We've used here, if you can see at the bottom, we've used the NUTS scale, and this is NUTS level 2. We've used that throughout this presentation to keep the consistency. So that's how we're defining those regions, just to be clear. So this is looking at all reservations made from the beginning of the year, so from week 1 to week 27, which is last week, so week ending the 5th of July. We've added those up and compared them with the same time period in 2019 for last year. So as you can see, Cornwall down there at the bottom, in the lighter blue, recovering the most, so only minus 28.4% reservations made compared to last year. So that's a really positive sign. It's a great improvement for Cornwall, leisure market there. However, you can see on the alternative side, you have at the top Scottish Highlands and Islands, showing that they've recovered, unfortunately, one of the least, and they're sitting now around minus 45.9% on reservations made compared to last year. So in the second chart, I just wanted to look at the percentage change in UK reservations, and this is broken down week by week. So again, starting with week 1, which is the start of this year, and ending there in week 27, which again is last week, week ending the 5th of July. And we've done here is we've taken all of the number of reservations made in total, just to show how pickup is happening and how reservations are in fact starting to grow. The 0% here, so the 29 reservations is 0 line, being reflective of the reservations made last year. So what you can see, so week 1, so the UK was starting really strong. So week 2 and 3, sort of high 50%, so a 50% increase on last year. As we move towards week 5 and week 6, and you start to see that sudden decline, you can see here where actually international travel started to become affected. Some domestic travel was maintained at this point. And then moving through to weeks 10, well, around week 9, week 10, is where the full lockdown, so where the restrictions in the UK really started to come in place. So of course here domestic travel completely affected and international travel banned. UK on full lockdown around weeks 12 through 13. At this point, all travel has been unfortunately halted. There's a small little bump around week 15. That was around Easter week. And then moving forward to week 17, so you can see there, that's the lowest point. So here we've identified the inflection point in week 17. But then moving, in the last sort of 10 weeks or so to a much more positive increase, as you can see there. Just to point out the little bump in week 22, we identified this to be possibly reflecting some improvements in the UK. So here there's some news, domestic travel going to be opening in the next month or so. So there's a little spike for reservations. And then coming through to week 27, as we are today. So now in the third chart, we're just going to look from that inflection point, so from the low point there in week 17 to today, so to last week, so week 27. And this is percentage change again in weekly reservations, and week 17 with only 10% of reservations made compared to last year, as we saw on the last slide. Again, seeing the spike through week 22 there, again showing how some good news can have a really positive effect on those reservations. And then finally in week 27, so showing in the last 10 weeks, we've seen a positive increase in reservations made of 1,188%. So that's only in the last 10 weeks. So it's a great sign. And then just moving to the next chart, where we're going to have a look at the year-on-year percentage difference in European reservations. So this is only comparing week 27, so again, the week ending the 5th of July, compared with that same week in 2019. So a couple of things here. So you have this scale in the top right corner. So showing the sort of worst, so the least amount of reservations recovered, sitting at 60%. And you can see there actually with 0 and 2+ even. So actually an increase on reservations compared to last year, which is wonderful. Just to point out France, the better part of France there in the green, and also interestingly, Scottish Highlands and Islands. So as we just looked at that as a previous example for this week, so again, just comparing week 27, they've only suffered a loss of between 0 to 10% of reservations made. However, looking back on the previous chart, showing they were lowest year to date, but this is a great sign showing that they're picking up significantly in these previous weeks. To give an example, of course, of some of the areas, still sort of in the higher negative, Spain, pretty much all of Spain, southern Italy, especially, unsurprisingly. And also just to focus a bit on the UK as well, you can see the darker concentration more in the center of the country, again, sort of reflecting those more urban markets, with the lighter colors seeming to come towards the coastlines of the country. Another interesting point is we did this analysis around 2 months ago. So this was looking to week 22. And in week 22, the average for Europe was negative 52%. So now it's really positive to see that just in these few weeks, that scale has actually dropped. So the lowest point now is 60%, where before the average for the whole of Europe was 52%. And the scale actually started at minus 40. So that's also wonderful that we're now seeing countries, regions that are seeing the same amount or even more reservations made compared to the same week last year. So just taking us back now to focus on the UK. So again, split here by region in the same as the first slide. And again, we're still just looking at those reservations in week 27, comparing last year. You see there's the 2019 is a 0% line on the right-hand side, with the data on the left pertaining to week 27 of 2020. So in week 22, we saw every region with a loss of between 70 to 93% in an average. So that's looking at this whole chart as an average. As you can see now, it's looking much, much better. The average now for the regions of the UK is sitting around 38%, so minus 38%. So again, we're still talking about a loss on last year, but the difference again in the last few weeks has been very significant. And you can even see right down there at the bottom, Cumbria, Cornwall, so Cumbria 0, so showing that actually they're hitting the same average as they were last year. Cornwall not close behind, only minus 4%, and then you have against Highlands and Scottish Highlands and Islands. Again, it's quite clear from the markets we see at the bottom being primarily those in leisure. And then if you come up to the top, so again, unfortunately, those markets suffering the biggest loss for this week compared to last year, being London. So most parts of London, Greater Manchester, Merseyside, so again, more urban locations. And as well, just to point out, so with, interesting that these urban markets are at the top, could be also a sign of increased domestic travel within the UK, and obviously those picking leisure markets. But we'll actually look at that now in the next slide. So here we're showing the top UK short-term rental guest nationalities. Again, this is through the year 2020. So you can see that we're starting again at week 1. And we're ending here at week 24, which is actually the middle of June. So from the start of the year to the middle of June. So you can see in week 1, so here the red line is Great Britain. So that red line representing the domestic travelers, our domestic guests. And then you have the other top 4 nationalities at the bottom. So the United States, Australia, France, and Germany as well. So you can see significantly, even from the start of the year, that the UK has a much higher proportion of domestic travelers than international. But it is interesting to see how this is definitely going on an upward curve. So from the start of the year, so week 1, it's a little hard to see. So week 1, we've got 62% of guests were domestic, growing up to week 4. So through to week 6 and 7, you can see that first spike. So growing up to just over 75%. So that was, again, the same time that the international travel ban was put into place. So naturally reflecting a higher number of national or domestic guests. Weeks 10 to 12, again, that's the time that the UK was in lockdown. And by week 11, we're starting to see that increase again. So again, increase in domestic. And by week 24, you'll see, it zigzags a little through the past few weeks. But by week 24, the domestic proportion has dropped. And this is certainly likely due to the uptick in international travel, or again, seeing the light of when we can travel internationally again. So with this, it's important to note. So again, this is for Great Britain as a whole, but being aware of, the percentage of domestic travelers you have in your market, if that's not something that if it's not your guests the guest type you were welcoming before, you're welcoming more international travelers, then it's definitely worth taking a deeper look into this data to see if you can be more competitive and if you can welcome some extra domestic guests. So that's the end of the first 6 charts. I really hope that you found that interesting and hopefully helpful and a little positive news for you. Now I did want to show you quickly in our market intelligence dashboard how you can get deeper insights into this data. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. I'm sure this is the point where a lot more of the questions are going to arise. So again, please do feel free to make a note. But again, we will be sending you the recording of the presentation along with my email. So please feel free to shoot over any questions if you think of them later. So just showing you now our market intelligence dashboard. So this just choosing the City of London as a demo example for today. And this is where you can use the data to help make those strategic decisions for whatever that might be. Again, if you're looking to be more competitive on a domestic level and international level, the first thing you can do, and which is really important, is to understand where you are in your market. So again, what you can do here is track your own listings. You're seeing here with an example against those competing in the market. These are professionally managed listings. And again, we're tracking Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, and also TripAdvisor to get these insights. So the first thing you can do is, again, how am I doing compared to others in my market? You know, how is my occupancy? Reflected here is a purple line, just as an example for this company, with the rest of the market. So again, looking at this, if you're this company, you would be quite pleased. This is a 30-day snapshot. You can extend the calendar if you wanted to do, you know, between now and the end of the year, for example, to get a bigger picture. Alternatively, you know, you can start to evaluate subsets of your market. So importantly, property types is extremely important, as you know, especially for rates, even by the size. And then especially in an area like London, a very, very large market, you would then want to drill down to your local area. So the first way you can do that is actually by choosing the postal code from there, and then you're only going to be looking at that data. So now you can see how are you doing compared to the market or indeed any other competitor. If you're doing a competitive analysis, you identify anyone in your area that you would like to compare yourselves with, you can switch out the blue bars. So as you move down, you can do the same with your rates. So again, checking, you know, how are my daily rates? The listings are active, you know, it's going to be extremely competitive time. Everyone's been closed for the past however many months around the world, you know, not just UK-based PMCs, but also those who are outside the UK operating within the UK. So it's important to understand the strategies that are being used and see how, you know, where you would fit. So the same thing with the average nightly rates per day. And then last but not least, you have the pickup. This one is even more interesting today than ever. This is showing you in the last week the change for demand for those properties. So here looking completely positive. You know, this is wonderful. We haven't seen this in London for many, many months. And here showing the highest peak for July the 9th. What this is saying is in the last 7 days, 344 two-bedroom apartments in London have been reserved for July the 9th. So that's perfect. That's what you want to see. And this is obviously a great indicator for you spotting high times of demand for future dates. And again, being reactive and being able to check your rates to see if they're aligned. So that's how you can see how are you doing within your market, how are you doing versus any of your competitors. Another wonderful way to be more competitive is, of course, to evaluate those subsets in the market. So using reviews, you can actually learn a lot about your guests. You can learn a lot of, you know, what they liked, what they didn't like. Of course, that's most important. And here just choosing, 2-bedroom apartments. Again, it's nice we'll pick W2 just as an example. And here what you're going to see is, again, either for your whole area or for yourself, you can pick yourself from this list, or any competitor you see doing very well, you would like to have a look at that and see how you can improve perhaps. You can come through, for the area, what is the average scoring or ranking of those properties left by the guests? Of those essentially bad reviews, so that's anything with a rating under 3 is a keyword. So we've pulled the keywords from those reviews to highlight them here to show you the big pet peeves of the guests. And then the same thing with the good reviews, so the alternative. So anything with 4 to 5 stars here. And of course, you have the the reviews themselves. So you can have a read of what the guests left. When did they stay? Also, very important to note, especially if it's been sort of in this during the quarantine or post-quarantine, to sort of figure out, what made them feel comfortable. Was there anything that property owner or that host was doing that gave them that such a great rating? And of course, you can click and go visit the listing, see, is it something specific to the property? Evaluate that location, what is it that people like so much, or is it something that, if you're in that area, do you need to implement parking? If you see in here, trains or, travel, anything like that, then it's going to be a little far. And then thinking of a way to resolve that and then increase your bookings through improved guest experience, increased ratings, and then more reservations. So that's how you can check using reviews. And we definitely recommend to be, not making one listing and it lasting forever. Times change, trends change, even with seasons. So it's definitely great to keep on top and refresh yourselves as to what everyone else is doing. And if there are any trends or anything that you can be picking up on to really push your properties or your listings on the OTA. And then finally, a new feature. Again, this is particularly useful for those of you who are in leisure markets. So with the urban, you can see here how you can filter by the city or by the postal code. Sometimes, of course, there are instances where that subset is too large, or in fact, you're looking to analyze a specific property type, or for example, in a more leisure location, so one of the high cottage area, you may have a list of competitive cottages. However, half of them have a swimming pool and half of them don't. So again, just using that as a loose example, there are many others in markets that, excuse me, that can increase the rate. So it's very important to evaluate those separately. And again, if you're operating or you have properties that do or don't have one of these things, you will then be stronger going forward. Say, okay, the next time, do we need to be focusing on properties with pools or without? And this is the way you can evaluate it here. Make your own group, and then you can directly compare your own properties, e.g. with parking or with pool, with those that do, and then again, yours that don't with those that don't. There are many other insights here. This is just a few for today. So I'm just gonna jump back to the final page of my slide, just to show you some resources that we're going to send, again, along with the webinar recording. Complete COVID-19 Impact Tracker. We have a whole section of our website now dedicated to that, full of free resources. And that's where you can put in your own market name and track year on year, that same year on year, year to date, 2019 and 2020 data. Of course, my meeting link if you would like to book a demo, or again, if you would really like to take a closer look at any of this data, but for your market. And then, of course, some of our latest research pieces, including an article dedicated to slide 6. So again, looking a little bit deeper at those guest nationalities in the UK for 2020. So thank you everyone so much for listening, and thank you, Lorraine. That's kind of you to say. I really hope it was interesting, and now we definitely have time for questions. So I'll pass you back to Kelly. Thank you so much.
Is it worth actually having a quick look at the COVID-19 impact tracker? Because I think that would be really useful for kind of understanding what's happening in the market. If you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you see my screen? Did it share?
I can see it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Perfect. Yes. So sorry, guys. So this is where you can access our COVID impact tracker. So the first, when you open the page, the first thing you'll see is the market impact report. So as you scroll down here, I've just selected London, again, just keeping with the theme of today. And the first graph you can see 2019 versus 2020 demand. So here reflected using occupancy change as well. So 2019 versus 2020, so you can see here by date. And these are also interactive. So as the charts, in the presentation now, which we'll send, you'll then be able to look this way at each specific date and get the exact data. And then finally as well, so cancellations. So again, from the dashboard, you saw the pickup. So this is here analyzing that negative over positive pickup ratio. And this is specifically February through to July. So again, this is updated from the start of July. And then here you have the evolution of the rates as well. And this is taken as an example, 2-bedroom properties, and this is in pounds. So again, this data we do have, for all bedroom sizes. It's just here as an example. And then last but not least, again, as you can see in the dashboard, you at least have an idea of some of the larger players. So again, these are professional management companies. How many listings do we estimate them to have? Is that growing? Is that shrinking? So that's a tracker. So you can see here, so this is London. Any of our active markets, you can go ahead and select for yourselves. Please, if you can't find your market, the whole world isn't here. So do let me know and I can gladly try to get that for you. Other interesting section just to note here, again, just looking at proportions of domestic travelers, if you found that interesting. So you can see here on a global scale, if you're operating perhaps multi-market or outside of the UK. Here we have top vacation rental nations ranked by percentage. You can see Great Britain is actually number 5. Perfect. And then finally as well, just to note, a section on midterm rentals as a possibility. But again, that's something that we looked at for some of our other clients moving from short term. But I think that's it. So I'll definitely send along this link. You can see here if you guys can go there now for free and visit the page if you like, but I will shoot that over as well.
Brilliant.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. We've got a couple of questions in. First one from Sandy asking if if there's something similar for the tours market.
That's a really interesting question. I do not, I'm afraid. For us, all that we're just scraping the short-term rental properties. You mean to say for actual excursions? So comparison tool for...
well, I'm guessing so. Yes, you said I run private tours.
I do not, but I will definitely look for you. That's a great one. Thank you.
Because I imagine private tours are being quite heavily affected now, especially if they would previously have been attracting the international market, and the domestic market might have different ideas on tours. I think that'd be quite interesting statistics.
It would. No, certainly. Let me have a look. Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. And we've got a question from Davide here. To make sure I look at the right data, can Transparent help me only see data from luxury and high-end accommodation? So Davide works for the Edinburgh Address, and they've got beautiful, beautiful properties. So is there a way of kind of filtering it so you can just see, the kind of property that fits your market?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely recommend, David, for that to use those custom groups. Depending on your class of luxury, but the obvious ones being by rates. So again, you can filter by 2019. I would recommend performance. So again, daily rates or occupancy from the last year. Filter down those. You'll then get those listings that you can separate out into a group. So call it high end or high rates. And alternatively, again, for luxury, again, if there are certain amenities that put your property into that luxury class, you would then definitely want to separate out those properties from the rest and then evaluate those just in the luxury bubble.
Brilliant. Okay, I hope that answers the question, Davide. Do we have any other questions before we move on today? I think we've answered the ones we've had so far. No, I think we're good. All right.
That's it.
Well, if you have any other questions, fire them across. I'm just going to go back to my slides. Just give me a moment. Okay, so we've done the questions. Realistically, we will be sending you information after this event. I think you automatically get sent the recording anyway, but Lucy's got the slides for today, and so we'll send across some of that information. If you do want to get in touch, obviously you've got our details here. And as I said earlier on, this is probably the last event just for the summer. I want to go on holiday. I want a bit of a break. But we've got one more event planned in a couple of weeks, which is the happy hour. So Robin ran a happy hour last month, and it's really just an opportunity just to get together, have a cup of tea or something stronger, and have a bit of a chat. And if you've got good stuff going on or not, just join in and join us, for an hour or so. So if you'd like to come to that, the link's there, and I'll send you the link later on as well. And that's it for today then. Lucy, have you got anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you. I did just see a question from Donald.
Right, hang on a sec.
Is there such a thing?
Oh, yes.
Is there such a thing as an average rates monitor per area? If I understand you correctly, yes. So the first section I showed you in rate and demand, you can then compare your aggregated, so again, your average rates for each day going forwards compared with either the market, so again, with that area or with any other company that you would like to compare yourself with. And the type of accommodation, yes, certainly. So you can search by property type and indeed size, and also as far as the capacity, if that does indeed have an effect in your market. If that answered your question.
Let's just see if it answered the question.
I think so. I think it's for rate comparison or rate monitoring. What system do we use for that? Our own system. So we're scraping the active listings that appear on those 4 channels that we mentioned. So we're taking that data, we're processing it and uploading it there into the dashboard. So that's, all of the active listings that would be yours included with any of your other competitors. But in terms of rate management, so if you mean to say to push those rates from the dashboard to your own properties, so to your direct site or wherever it might be, no, we don't offer that service currently. It's a standalone platform.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Donald? Actually, Donald, I've got your email address, so what I could do after this. Oh, good.
Perfect.
Well, you'll have our details, Donald. So if you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to drop myself or Lucy an email, and we can go through it there as well. Okay. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up for today then. Thank you so much to everybody for coming and for all your great questions. And thank you, Lucy. I really appreciate your time today. And I hope everybody found Lucy's presentation really useful.
Thank you so much, Kelly. You as well. Huge thanks to yourself, Robin, and to Bookster for having us. Really enjoyed it.
Great. Okay, right. Bye, everybody. It was good to see you. And if you want to come along on the 29th of July, just join us and we'll be there for some beers. Okay, bye now.
Bye.